And so I kind of made a different version of this reel where I said, show me a good childhood, now make it a better childhood. And each time it got like more tech, more, I don't know, video games, whatever. And then eventually I said, show me the best childhood a kid could possibly have. And that video or that photo that I'm asking, sorry, I didn't even explain it. I ask AI to generate a photo based off these questions. And each time AI generates it, it was of video games. And so then I say, show me the best childhood a kid could possibly have. And AI shows a photo of a kid riding on a bike with his dad. And I personally believe that that is the best childhood that a kid can have growing up. And I'm glad some people related with it too.
BMX Breakthrough is bridging the gap from old school to new school, from tracks to manufacturers, from new riders to their local tracks, and it doesn't stop at racing, but the mission is to connect people with bikes. Join me, Jay Oaks, as I interview key people in the sport and in the industry that are involved in their local circles, in their communities, at their local tracks, and aiming to make a difference on a local level. You'll hear stories, marketing tips, failures, successes, and a way to make a difference in your local BMX community. Let's dive in as we kick off this next episode. All right. Well, Conor, I am so excited to have this conversation with you. You've come up in different feeds before I started following you, and you have started a company that is really cool. It's a topic that's really near and dear to my heart, and that's how you first got my attention. But why don't you tell us about Bicycle Thieves?
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. For everybody that doesn't know me, I'm Conor Shaughnessy. I founded Bicycle Thieves. Bicycle Thieves is a clothing company that aims to prevent poverty's theft of childhood biking. And we do that by selling clothing, and 20% of it goes to the Bikes for Kids Foundation. And the Bikes for Kids Foundation is a nonprofit organization that gives bikes to kids in Title I schools.
Right on. Yeah, super cool. What you're doing, just trying to get kids onto bicycles. And I think so to begin with, the way that I found you, I think you came up in a suggested for you follow this person or somebody you may know through
Cool.
Brighton at Dance Comp. So shout out to Brighton because he was following you. And then I started digging into what it was that you were doing and really fell in love with the mission because obviously BMX Breakthrough, we're all about helping grow ridership at a local level, and we're about getting kids on bikes. You're about getting kids on bikes, but what really caused me to reach out to you and to start that conversation was, and I'm going to ask you to recap it, but my summary is an AI representation of childhood. And so just this video that you had made, you had turned a couple photos into a reel, and oh man, it was a quick summary. It was heart-wrenching. So anyway, why don't you go ahead and give us a little rundown, an overview of what that reel was that you created.
Yeah, so I saw a similar video that talked about something about it was, if some people know that, it was called the Priceless Pancake. And that was the original video of like the theme that I made this reel about. And the Priceless Pancake was like, show me a $1 pancake. And it was like a pancake. And then eventually went up to like, show me a $1,000 pancake. And it was crazy. And it said, show me a priceless pancake. And this priceless pancake was a boy's mom making a pancake for him at home. And I was like, oh, that's one, an amazing reel because I totally like understand that. And two, I'm like, this definitely relates to what I'm doing. And I'm like, all these kids there's like all these kids these days, like their childhood is about, I don't know, the next video game or the next just something like inside or on a computer, on a PS5, whatever. And like, but what I remember childhood being about was outside with friends on bikes, everything like that. And so I kind of made a different version of this reel where I said, show me a good childhood, now make it a better childhood. And each time it got like more tech, more, I don't know, video games, whatever. And then eventually I said, show me the best childhood a kid could possibly have. And that video or that photo that I'm asking, sorry, I didn't even explain it. I ask AI to generate a photo based off these questions. And each time AI generates it, it was of video games. And so then I say, show me the best childhood a kid could possibly have. And AI shows a photo of a kid riding on a bike with his dad. And I personally believe that that is the best childhood that a kid can have growing up, and I'm glad some people related with it too.
It it made my day. And I think there was a photo in there as well of like three kids riding through a neighborhood on bikes. And so yeah, it was just along the lines of identifying the reality of what a lot of childhood is, and then identifying what is possible. And obviously, technology continues to grow, and there are advantages to the growth of technology, but it also has the
Yes.
ability to easily take away. Um, and and I will say that, like, as a dad that did not uh, provide and promote, and has not promoted screens in a lot of ways, my kids ride their bikes a lot and they absolutely love being on their bikes. And the more that I advocate for them riding on their bikes, and the more that we get to spend that quality time together, the less at this point that they've been interested in. Now, at some point it could change and it could be a little bit more difficult, but the more that it has become like that, they just want to be out on their bike. And there's so many people that we've interviewed throughout the podcast who go back to, and I talk about this probably in just about every episode, is that there are so many people that have identified, my bike was my freedom, my bike was my life, my bike was my escape, my bike was my opportunity, my bike was my, like, fill in the blank with a great adjective. And so when you're, the mission of your company was to get kids on bikes, I fell in love with that. Quick detour to one of our gold level sponsors, Luminex Neon, who has partnered with us to help accomplish the mission here at BMX Breakthrough. We're so grateful for their opportunity. And there's a special place, a near and dear place in my heart for neon, all things neon, whether that's on paper, whether it's shoes, whether it is a sign in a living room or a garage space, it doesn't matter. I love neon, always have, probably always will. And so neon signs create a unique statement piece. So if you're looking for that for your bike shop, for your garage, for your workspace, maybe it's for your living room, Luminex Neon offers exactly what you need. So with unparalleled craftsmanship and endless design possibilities, Luminex Neon is your go-to for brightening up any space. You can follow the link in the description and use our promo code BMX Breakthrough 10 in order to get 10% off of your order and to explore everything that Luminex Neon has to offer. And the thing that got my attention and gets a lot of people's attention is your name. And so why don't you talk about your name and and how that gets people's attention.
Yeah, so the name definitely sparks a lot of attention, whether I'm wearing the hoodie or wearing a t-shirt or even comments and DMs. But that's the intent with it. The intent is to kind of have something that makes people say, hey, what is that? Like, I don't like bicycle thieves. Like, I don't like those people. Why are you wearing that? And it sparks a conversation. My thought going into it was, if I were to wear a shirt that said like kids need or something like kids get bikes foundation, something, I think that's great, it's awesome, but it doesn't grab the immediate attention of like, hey, what is that? It's like they know what it is, and if they're interested they'll find it. But for this, it's like they get it and it starts the conversation of what the brand is, what they're about, and it starts really just the conversation about our mission.
Yeah. Well, there was one story that you told me about. There was the guy on the plane that you were walking past. Can we talk
Yes.
about that story?
Yes. This was actually my first time wearing, because usually whenever I go to the airport, I feel like, I don't know, I always wear bicycle thieves because it's just like, oh, there's a lot of people around there and they get some more eyes on it just for fun. And it was
Oh,
my first
I totally
time.
get it. When I go to the airport, I try to wear the clothing that's going to get the most conversations. So I totally
Yes.
understand.
Yes. Something that's weird about airports makes me want to do that. And it's the same for others. I don't know. But it was the first time wearing, and it was this one. It was in college. I was going home, and there was an little old man as I'm walking towards the back of the plane, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hello." And he's like, "So you stole my bike?" And I started cracking up. I thought it was funny, and then from there, I was able to explain. I'm like, "No," I was like, "Good one." And then I explained like what the company actually was. I used like the opportunity of this conversation that created or that started to kind of showcase what the brand was about.
Yeah, which I love because so when I got when my package from you showed up, and I one of the first days I was wearing my shirt was in Palm Springs, California, and we were at an RV park and hanging out, and then I walked up. I think my kids and I had walked over by the like the rec hall area and walk up on this balcony, and this guy goes, "So that's what happened to it." And it was so funny because almost verbatim, it was the same conversation you had had. This guy was just 30, 40 years younger than, in a different location, but it was the
Yeah,
same conversation. And I think that's what it sparks is like it starts this conversation of, oh, so what happened to it? And then I can go, man, yeah, no, it wasn't me. But
yeah,
this
yeah,
it's a company that exists to get kids on bikes, and then people start having that conversation because usually if you're commenting on your bike being stolen, your bike was probably a pretty big part of your life, or probably at least it was somewhat monumental that you remember that moment. And
yep,
so when you started talking about or when I started diving into what it was that your company did, um, I fell in love with the idea because, as you mentioned, trying to prevent poverty from keeping kids off of bikes, and so we had talked about the increase of groceries, the increase of all these different things, and all of a sudden, like frivolous spending money becomes less and less, and goes
yeah,
from, oh, all right, well, we can't get you a bike now because now it's we eat this week, or for half of a week we eat, or you get a bike, and we're gonna choose
yeah,
we eat.
exactly. And we believe that those restrictions, like whatever it is, inflation or just financial hardships, I mean, those are bicycle thieves. They're taking away the opportunity for a kid to get a bike. They're stealing it from them. And so the company is also like or the name itself is also an attention grabber, but it's also like a representation of the thieves you can't see.
Yeah, I love that. So in addition to that, so continuing the conversation from there on to you having this desire, um where was that moment that you had this realization that there just weren't as many kids on bikes as you remembered seeing?
Yeah. So this started, I guess you could say it started years back. Every single year for Christmas, I'd receive some baseball glove equipment or baseball bat or whatever cleats. I played baseball and other sports growing up as a kid. Every Christmas, I get something new and I go to the park and play with my friends or my dad. And over that time, I kind of noticed that every time that I was at the park playing with whatever I'd gotten, there were less kids there. And whether it was a bike or a scooter or anything, there were just less kids outside. And uh, it was 2021, and I went to the park, and there was like one kid on a bike. And usually, like that iconic Christmas gift is you get a bicycle, and you used to see it so much. And at that moment, I realized like, wow, like all these kids, they didn't they didn't ask for a bike, or they didn't even get a bike because they've become so expensive. Either their parents weren't able to afford to get them that big gift, or they just didn't ask for that big gift because it didn't seem as important to them. And at that point, I realized that there's a bigger issue than just kids not getting outside. And I did some research and I looked it up. I found the like hike of bike prices in the last, I don't know, at that point it was like the last 5 years. I mean, they're up almost 44%, and it's become like a luxury item rather than like something that every kid has in their life automatically, which I feel like it was more common uh, back when I was 8, 10, and even the numbers do show that. So in that moment, 2021 Christmas, then I realized that kids need to get back on bikes, and every kid deserves to have that opportunity.
That's cool. Okay, so I think what's different about you and as the mission that you have, and then what's different about you from all the other guests that I have or that I have had on the show is that you don't have a huge history in bikes, which is fascinating to me because of your passion for getting kids on bikes. And so the majority of the time when I interview people, it's like they have a big history in BMX. They have, spent a lot of time, maybe it's mountain biking or whatever. And your story is very different. So I want to start with what was your experience like growing up, with a bike and what kind of bikes you grew up with, and then I'll ask you another follow-up question after that.
Yeah, that sounds good. And that's a fair question. I don't have a lot of experience with bikes other than either riding for transportation or just for fun casually. Growing up as a kid, I got a bike when I was pretty young, and I rode around with my friends to get to other friends' houses, get to the park, get to baseball practice. I'd also do a lot of riding with my dad. That was the biggest part of my childhood on bikes. Was every Saturday or Sunday we would. I feel like we would ride to like a smoothie shop if you know of Jamba Juice. We would like go there, and so that was our kind of event of the weekend. And I just used it in more of a way of transportation and a more of a way to bond with friends. And I still continued that all the way through college. I had a bike in college that I took everywhere. Took it to baseball practice, took it to class, took it to friend's house. And it was so much more, I guess, efficient in terms of paying for gas in a car, and also got me there faster sometimes if it was just like a quick stop. I didn't have to park or anything. It wasn't, I don't know, it just made it a lot easier. And so I used it all the time. I found its benefits, and it just made me realize that there's so many more uses for a bike than people realize.
So what was it about bikes that you realized that made it, what was it about a bike that you saw as so valuable for kids to have one?
Yeah, and that's a good question, because you could say like, oh, scooters or skateboards and stuff,
Or a
but
baseball
grow
glove, something from your
well,
childhood?
that's true. That's very true. I just felt like bikes were one important to me as a kid because even though I did play baseball, I used them a lot with friends, and I kind of saw it as a staple to my childhood in terms of just hanging out and being social. And then you also see the benefits that comes with riding a bike, whether it's balance, whether it's freedom, whether it's being able to hang out with friends like I did. And I don't know, the more that I saw less kids every Christmas on one, just never sat right with me. And it was something weird. I tried to explain it to some friends who also played baseball, didn't care much about bikes. And they're like, oh, yeah, like whatever. Like they didn't care. And I'm like, no, like that like makes me mad. And I just think it's a staple to a childhood. And it's something that every kid deserves to at least experience in their life.
Yeah, which I couldn't agree more. But I think that it's so different hearing that from you because your your acknowledgement of that, even though, like you've said, you didn't really grow up with bikes being a huge central pivotal point of your life, it it was an important piece of your life. but it wasn't everything in your life. You had other sports that were fun. You had other ways to socialize, and yet you still saw this. And even other friends that you had and peers that you mentioned this idea to didn't see the same value in a bicycle that you did.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. I think that's one of the things that I appreciate about having these conversations with you is from somebody who is so in love with bikes and has had so much spent so much time with them and seeing the tremendous value because of what it added to my life. And for you, it's you see what it added to your life, but you also can recognize the value that it's added to so many others' lives, which is a very outward focused mindset, which is something that I just really appreciate.
Yeah. I mean, I guess another just example of what I'd explained earlier was even when I started the brand, I explained the idea to some friends because, first off, or to start it, I wasn't prepared to do it all by myself. And if you don't know that, I think you do know that, but it's just me. And I mean, my fiance helps with video recording and stuff. But when I first explained it, they liked the name because they thought it was cool, but they didn't really care about the whole charity side of it. And that wasn't because they were bad people. I just don't think that they really just empathize with it. And so, yeah, just I don't know, something that just really stuck. There was a lot of core memories, I feel like, from my childhood that were on a bike. And so when I look back at my childhood, I remember baseball and friends. But for some reason, even though I wasn't on it every single day, being on a bike always stuck out.
That's cool. Yeah. Having a bike is something that so many people would identify as valuable because there are a lot of people, myself being one of them, that team sports just weren't my jam. Like I didn't have um I didn't have some of the skills. I could have developed more of those skills and spent more time practicing, but a bike was something that I could do on my own terms, and it and I could be as good or as bad that day as I wanted to be, and I wasn't letting other people down. Or if you are in a position where you're really good on a team and your team is not very good, then your team can let you down. And
Yeah.
so having that independent sport, which is kind of where I fell in love with extreme sports in and of themselves, is really cool. But man, I love what you've been able to do. And recently, you've actually had the opportunity to give away more and more bikes. I've loved watching the recent videos of you presenting bikes because the other day it actually wasn't even a kid that you gave a bike to. You gave a bike to a grown up, which was super cool.
Yeah, that was something new, and I was really excited to do that. Actually, this idea actually stemmed from you, so I'll give you props. But reaching out to local bike companies and seeing what they had available for donation. Can't believe I didn't come up with that, but you did, and thank you very much. But I
It's
reached
okay,
out to City
teamwork.
Bike. Yes, that's teamwork right there. Uh, and I reached out to City Bike Tampa. I'll give them a shout out. And I DM'd them and I said, hey, like, this is what I do. I shared my information. Like, do you have any bikes for donation? And they gave me an SE Logger. And not knowing much about bikes, I'll be honest, I looked it up and it was worth a lot of money. And I was like, wow, like, this is a good bike. And I found a guy on Facebook Marketplace that he had just moved from Atlanta, and he didn't have a job, and didn't have a car, and he needed to find work. And his current place that he was staying at didn't have not a lot of opportunity around him. But he said, if I get a bike, there are places in bikeable distances that I can apply to. And I said, all right, you're the one. Like, this bike's for somebody 5'10" and above, so like giving it to a kid or even like a tall teenager is going to be tough to find. Like, all right, I'm giving it to you. You definitely deserve it. And that was a really good experience.
That's so cool. Well, uh, Todd Lyons is the guy that oversees uh, the ride out scene for SE bikes, and has curated a bunch of rides in different areas and stuff. And so, man, if he's listening, Todd, there's one more person on your, there's one more person on the bikes, which is super rad. And so
Yeah.
you can go find Connor's video and watch. But and I think the gratitude, like there is something for a kid, there is a core memory that's going to be created when you give a kid a bike, just like they receive a bike on Christmas. They may remember that for a really long time. But at the same time, an adult that is down on their luck, or going through a rough patch in life, and you're able to give that to somebody, an adult really recognizes the value of that. A kid doesn't recognize the value of the money side. But to be able to give that to somebody, and to be able to see maybe the way that his life changes as a result of this bike is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. It's really exciting to see what happens there. I'm very excited for him.
And to be fair, anybody that's listening to this that is riding BMX bikes, we're all just overgrown kids. And so get like even the new hats that you just dropped, get kids back on bikes like you're wearing now.
Yep.
Um, let's get kids back on bikes, but let's get oversized kids back on bikes. Let's get grown-up
Yes.
kids back on bikes.
Yes.
Most people in the BMX world, I was just at an old school BMX race in Oklahoma, and none of us have really grown up. We just got bigger and the bikes stayed the same size.
Yes. Yep. Pretty much.
So,
Yeah.
one
I mean,
thing
bikes are for everybody.
they are absolutely everybody. Another thing I wanted to mention, and just to give them a shout out in here, is you actually grew up very near Emerald Valley BMX because you grew up in Eugene, Oregon.
Yes. Well, I didn't grow up in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, you
I went
spent,
to school.
oh, that's right. Okay. You spent some time
Yeah.
there. And
Yes.
so you were very near the BMX track. Did you ever stumble your way over there?
Yes. And I actually stumbled my over there on a bike, which is pretty funny.
Okay.
Um, so I went to University of Oregon, and it was one of the first days of spring. And so I got my buddy and I said, "Hey, let's just go on a bike ride, and let's just no destination. Let's just see where we go." And we ended up making our way over. I think the one you're talking about, it's near Autzen Stadium.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, right
near,
by the football stadium.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
right behind
And
it.
we made our way all the way. We went to Springfield, which is the town next to Eugene, and then we wrapped our way around into Autzen. And there was some race going on, and it was a bunch of kids, and we just stayed there and watched it for like probably a half hour. It was a super nice day out, and we just watched all these kids just go nuts on the track, and it was awesome. Uh, and yeah, so I stumbled my way there once, but I remember I did look up when I'd started this in college. I had checked to see like if there were any more races that maybe I could go give some stuff out to, and it was winter time, so there was nothing. But yeah,
Gotcha.
made my way there once.
That's cool. Um, so being at the track, did it pique your curiosity enough to like be interested in trying it out at all? Just because I'm curious.
It did, and every now and then, because I've become so involved with like I don't know, my Instagram feed is like all bikes now and all like motocross and stuff. It has definitely piqued my interest.
That's awesome.
And I was on a bike, what was it, like 2 weeks ago? And I had seen so many videos of wheelies. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to try and like get the front wheel off the ground to see what happens. That's tough. It's not easy. And they make it look so easy.
At this moment, I'm going to interrupt our episode, our current interview, briefly to give a special shout out and thank you to our sponsors that have backed us financially in this project, in our mission, and give them a huge thank you. So at our gold level, we have Luminex Neon and Marketing Breakthrough. At our silver level, we have Sound Cedar Lumber and Bicycle Thieves. And at our bronze level, we have Pro Start Gates and Justin Shepard, Title Examiner. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for backing us. If you are looking for help with any project that you're working on, if you're looking for some cool things to do, go ahead and check out the links to their websites in our description, and go ahead and visit them, show them some love. We are so appreciative for their support. And if you are interested in getting involved in a local track, helping out, or sponsoring a local track, sponsoring the BMX Breakthrough Project as a whole, please reach out at j@bmxbreakthrough.com. You can also go to our website and find out some of the needs of tracks and some of the things that we are working on at bmxbreakthrough.com. Once again, thank you so much for your support. Let's dive back into this conversation. The SC Bike Life guys, those guys, the big bike guys, and even like you've developed this following, and so some of your advertising and such has become, because people will send you the content after they get the gear, is you've got like a lot of guys on Surons that are sending you videos and stuff, and obviously those aren't the two wheels that you're giving away,
No.
but those are the people that a lot of those guys have sent you videos of them, and so you've been sharing their stuff. But whether on Surons or whether on the big bikes, like those guys make it look so easy, and the tricks that they do is phenomenal. I can't ride
Yeah.
the way that those guys do.
No, they do all the tricks. I don't even know what you would call it, but they're like flipping around their legs while wheeling. And I'm like, and they're like bouncing around on the seat. And I'm like, how are you doing this? And so I think one thing, one thing that happened was I was receiving all these videos from kids, and of like them wearing our gear, and I make these video compilations, and I put them all together and put some music to it, post it, kind of get some hype around it, and I'm getting all these videos. I'm like, I don't know what's considered good, what's considered like bad tricks. I don't know. So I'll put them all in there. And sure enough, that next few weeks, I went on a bike and I tried to do some myself. And I'm like, okay, they're all good. I got to put all of these in there. I am no person to judge.
Uh, it's amazing, the watching people ride, and just like anything, whether whether you're in business or whether you're in a skilled laborer in as a contractor, whether you're in finance, and anything that you do and you do it well, it should look effortless from the outside looking in. and
Yeah.
and those guys on bikes. And so, I mean, I ride with people that make racing look absolutely effortless, and to race the way that they do is not something that I am capable of doing at this moment without a lot of training. Um,
Yeah.
and anyway, it's just really cool to see the different skill sets, and the number of people that are repping your brand and trying to bring awareness to that, and bring awareness to your cause.
Yeah. It's
So
been really exciting. It's been something I wasn't really expecting. I kind of started reaching out to these people saying like, hey, like, would you want a t-shirt? Would you want a discount code? And that's how it started. And I got like a few people who said like, sure. Some people saying like, I don't know you. I had like 200 followers. And but then I just over time started like accumulating all these kids and these people. And I'm like, wow, like this is like really exciting to see that it's not just me who cares about this mission. It's all these kids. These people totally like get what I get. And so it's just been really exciting to see people on the same thought process.
yeah. What has been your experience when you have, I've seen some of the videos and some other people probably have too, but what is the experience like of giving a kid a bike?
It's amazing. It's awesome because you walk in and a lot of the kids are a little nervous, which is totally understandable. And it goes from like, hey, here's a bike. You pull it out of your trunk, and they're like, what is this? What's going on? Because a lot of the parents don't tell their kids. It's something that I actually like when they do that, because then it's fun to watch like their reaction. And you pull the bike out, and they're so confused. They're like, what's this bike? Is it for me? Like, I don't totally get it. And they're shy. Maybe they like hide behind their mom a little bit. And then just watching their expression grow into like, I have this bike now. I can go ride with my friends. I can ride this around wherever I want. Like it's a whole new sense of freedom. It's really exciting to see, and it makes me want to go do it again the next weekend.
That's super cool. What is the interaction like with the parents as you give them
They're
bike?
yeah, they're very, very, very grateful. You'll receive like thank you, thank you, thank you over and over and over, and God bless you. And it's really exciting just to see not only the kid excited, but the parent just as excited for the kid. It makes it so much better knowing that I don't know you're making different people excited and different people happy about this new opportunity. But yeah, the parents are definitely a big part of it. Uh, they get it the whole time. The kids don't get it to start, but the parents are like taking photos and like they're riding around the parking lot and they're taking videos and I'll get tagged in Instagram posts and stuff of their kid on their new bike, and it's really exciting.
Have you had moments where you have parents that get really emotional about it?
Yeah, I had. I think it was like the second family. The mom started hugging me, and she just like held on for like a long time, and I could tell it was more than just like a thank you. It was like there was emotion behind the thank you, and yeah, it just made me realize what was really going on. It wasn't just a bike; I was giving the kid a whole new opportunity.
That's so cool. Do you have
Yeah.
parents that tell you about that have told you stories of like them having a bike as a kid or the memories that they made because of a bike?
Yeah, there was one. I think it was the third family. The dad, he was a mechanic, and so he actually, we got lucky. I gave a kid a bike, and I had like self-installed training wheels on it, and the kid like got on the bike, and one of the training wheels like got loose, and I was like, oh my God, like this is horrible. I don't have my toolkit or anything, but the dad was a mechanic, and he knew all about bikes and everything. And so, but while he was fixing up the training wheels, he was giving me a bunch of his backstory about being on a bike as a kid and how much he remembered just being able to go where he wanted and hang out with the friends that he wanted. And he was excited that his child was now going to have that same experience as him.
Love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think those stories, like we talked about, giving a bike to an adult, they recognize the value of it and all that. But then on a completely different level, when you give a bike to a kid and the parent's able to, maybe it brings back some of those memories that they had, and it's so neat to see and hear some of those stories. So I'm super excited for you. I watch your videos, and sometimes I get kind of emotional just thinking about that moment of, what opportunities it opens up for these kids and, and for these families. And, there are a lot of families that may not have the ability to, to go racing or to go and ride at the skate park, and maybe there's not the time to go there. But these kids can ride around their neighborhood, they can ride around on the street, they can play around, and they can experience that freedom, get some energy out, help them with. Um, India, my wife and I have talked about our our experience with our son just behaving better after he goes and rides his bike a lot. And so those kinds of things for these kids is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. And a bike, even though it gives you there are a lot of like physical benefits, there's so many mental benefits behind it. Just like we were talking about with your kid, like after he comes back from a bike ride, he's doing so much better. It's just there's a lot of even though there's physical energy being released, a lot of mental energy is like being refreshed, and it's exciting to know that one the kid's going to have that opportunity, but also the kid's going to be benefited both mentally and physically.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is your big vision? What do you see as bicycle thieves? What do you want to accomplish for these kids? Obviously, it's started out with a pretty big dream of getting kids on bikes, but what does that picture look like for you?
Yeah, so I would say obviously biggest goal is to give as many bikes to his kids as possible. Right now, we do a lot of, or not a lot of, all of our sales go to the Bikes for Kids Foundation, and they take that money and they donate it to kids in Title I schools. Eventually, we want to be the ones giving out the bikes always, even though we do on the side, whether it's pulling from our profits or partnering with local bike shops. We eventually want to be the ones who are giving out these bikes. And so just as we grow, seeing that opportunity come about, we're definitely going to be hopping on it. Um, but I guess on the other side, definitely looking forward to one day opening up our own shop to expand opportunity to raise more money. And just there's always different avenues that even you and I have talked about on how we can expand down different channels to give kids bikes and make sure that these opportunities are expanded.
That's so cool. Yeah, so I think if there are any bike shops that are listening, or if any of the listeners have connections, I think that's one of the really cool ways that you've been able to collaborate with shops to help them get, I mean, they get exposure from it and you get some exposure from it, and to be able to come together and uh whether it's a bike that they have that they want to donate, or a bike that they have that they're willing to um they're able to donate part of their cost on it, and you can chip in the rest and get a kid on a bike faster. And so you've got a lot of different ways that you're trying to get that word out and ultimately bring bikes to kids. And even in the conversations that we've had, is that the priority there is far more than um, you're the conversations with you. You are not concerned. You don't sound concerned at all about the financial aspect for the business. It's really cool because your entire goal is, well, if we make more money, we can get more kids on bikes. And
Yeah,
and even bringing bringing the clothing in and being able to uh push that money back out. And right now all that money, or a lot of that money goes back in, you put that back into clothing for the business,
yeah,
or to sell
yeah,
more merchandise, um because you're trying to leverage that as best as possible to get these kids on bikes. So
yeah.
anyway, I'm just thankful for the mission that you have, the vision that you have, the desire that you have. And even though it came from a very different place than I would have expected it to come from. And I'm really appreciative of what you're doing for kids in the community.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you reaching out initially when I first got the opportunity to talk on your podcast. I was a little nervous, but I eventually just got really excited that there was somebody out there that wanted to hear about what I was doing. And so I'm very thankful that you reached out, you gave me the opportunity, and I was able to showcase myself to you and also to everyone else who's listening.
Yeah. Well, and then I was super excited. You jumped in as a sponsor for us for the BMX Breakthrough jerseys, and for the podcast, which is super cool. And then being able to, you give us a discount code to use. So will you give us, before we let you go, will you give us an overview of the products that you've got, where we go to get those products, and then if people want a discount, if you don't want a discount, that's okay. It gets more kids on bikes. But
It
at the
does.
same time, yeah. But will you give us, yeah, what you've got, where to get it, and what code to use?
Yeah. So right now we sell everything either through our Instagram shop, and our is at bicycle.thieves on Instagram. I'm pretty sure it's the same on all platforms, but the Instagram shops we're going to be able to get clothing. Um, and then we also have a website, and it's bthieves.com. We have a shop with, this is our newest hat. It's a Get Kids Back on Bikes hat. It's a trucker snapback. We also sell my favorite, the hoodie. It's a heavyweight hoodie, fully embroidered, has a little mask on the side. We also sell T-shirts. We sell a T-shirt that says Bicycle Thieves on the front, and it says "Every kid needs a bike" on the back. That's also one of my favorites. We just released a violet version. We have black and violet version, and we have another hat. We do sell the ski mask as a fun little addition. We also sell some stickers. And yeah, so that's where you can get it. And 20% of all of those sales that we get go straight to the Bags for Kids Foundation. And if you want a discount, we partnered up with Jay to do a 15% off your entire order if you use the code BMX Breakthrough 15.
Right on. And I will say, using that code, it takes a little bit of money off of your order, but at the same time, it's also beneficial because as Connor and I continue to try to collaborate on things, it also helps to know where some of those sales and where people are hearing about it from. And so using discount codes that way is super beneficial. But yeah, if you want if you feel like, well, I want more kids to be able to get on bikes, you can buy some more stuff. It's okay.
Yeah,
But uh,
keep adding to the cart, and it's all
yeah,
good.
yeah, just keep going. Because everybody else in your family needs a shirt that says every kid needs a bike. And
Yes.
anyway, I'm stoked on what you're doing. Thank you for just helping out the community and getting these kids on bikes and getting them rolling and getting some core memories rocking and um, love what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything.
Right on. Well, Connor, thank you so much for your time. This has been a little bit shorter of an episode, but we packed a lot of information into a short amount of time. And if anybody's got questions, reach out to Connor, get a hold of him. If anybody knows bike shops. Last question for you, Connor. Where is it that
Yep.
you're going to be moving to?
So we are going to be moving from Tampa, Florida to Philadelphia in July.
Right on. Okay, so the reason that I asked that question is because if there are any people listening that are in the Philadelphia area and you've got a track nearby, you should get a hold of Connor and you should drag him out to the track with you. Invite him out there and just bring him out to show him what BMX racing is all about. And Connor, you can go out to watch. And I just threw you in there. Somebody will reach out and invite you.
I appreciate it. Yes,
Um,
if you reach out, I'll be there. Definitely.
Right on. It's yeah, it'd be a cool way for you to kind of connect with that community, but also, since I did ask you the loaded question of was BMX racing of interest, it would be super cool to, for you to be able to find a community out there. So, anyway, Connor, I'm so grateful. Thank you again for your time. And thanks for what you're doing. And we're super excited to talk to you. So have an
Thank you.
incredible afternoon.
Thank you, you too, Jay.
Cool. Take care. Thank you for joining us in today's episode. It is because of people like you and our sponsors who make this whole thing possible because they have a desire to see the sport grow. If you would like to get involved in the mission of BMX Breakthrough, you can start by going to your local track, find a way to volunteer, help out, and serve there. Or you can go to our website, bmxbreakthrough.com, in order to donate, find out about sponsorship, or learn more.